You have to be fair about it. If you say that it's a problem to not run this by DOJ,
no,
it's got to be a problem to not run other
little transparency.
He pardoned 1,600 January 6th convicted January 6th rioters, including people who assaulted
and talked about doing it for months.
And yeah, but it didn't go.
There's no question that some unnamed family member did it on his behalf. We don't know that about Biden.
Just to be intellectually honest, you would also have to say that should have gone through a process, and it did not.
Well, to be intellectually honest, why are you denying all of the mainstream reporting about who was actually running the Biden White House?
That's a change,
including reporting.
This Republican Scott Jennings imploding an entire panel of paid propagandists on CNN by calling out their hypocrisy over deporting violent criminals. Welcome to Nerk News. I'm Nerkish, and it looks like Scott Jennings is continuing his trend of being the only thing keeping CNN above water, which isn't easy given how much BS the network seems to be constantly churning out these days. Here's Jennings battling a hysterical panel after a federal judge ordered deportation flights carrying violent illegals to return to the U.S.
That's number one. Number two, on the issue of these deportations, it's quite clear the president believes he is keeping the United States and its citizens safe from non-citizens who are in the country illegally, first of all, and second of all, who have a long history of committing very, very violent acts, from murder to rape to sex trafficking and so on.
Don't you think they have to prove that, though? Because, I mean, I don't think anybody disagrees about their ability to deport people who are murderers or rapists or whatever, but don't they have to actually prove that those people are who they say they are and that they've carried out those acts of those criminal acts?
Well, we know they're violent people because...
How do we know?
Because their records have already been pulled. I mean, these people were violent.
I think that the court,
from where they came from, and now they're here illegally. So
one of the things that happened in court
who
today,
they are? Like,
well, that's what I'm saying.
Have they even given us their identity?
In the court today is that the lawyers for the government couldn't say really who these people were.
And interesting enough, what they tried to use is they said, "Oh, we're looking at some of their tattoos, which means they have a gang affiliation, so they can be deported." It's a slippery slope that we don't want to open up.
But they're illegal immigrants,
why we have a process for everything.
But they're illegal immigrants, yes?
So actually, again,
we don't know
the state of affairs.
They're saying they're bad people, so they can get out of here.
It would be fine if we knew that, but we don't know.
The quote is, it's all fun until the rabbit has the gun, right? What if somebody turns that on one of us or anybody
we're citizens.
else?
They're not citizens.
You know, it's so funny to watch these self-righteous elites tie themselves into knots because they have to do ridiculous mental gymnastics to avoid saying politically incorrect phrases or basic truths. And in the end, they inevitably end up admitting far more than they intended to in the first place. Like this panel tacitly acknowledging that there may be some problems with having millions of unvetted illegals flood your country. I mean, what they just did was basically admitting that identification is important and lack of it is a persistent issue among illegals.
What we're talking about here is we have laws in place. We have to follow them. We're not saying keep violent people who came to this country illegally, keep them here. We're not saying that. We want them gone.
That's what a judge said. The judge said bring them back.
Yes,
the judge said bring them back.
A rule has to be followed.
Where would you put them, by the way?
But Abby,
follow the rule.
There is a law. The law
just a second.
They're violent or that they should be kicked out. Then you deport them. But you can't make up your own rules and just bypass the judicial system. You can't ignore a judge because we have rules in place. And it's fine and dandy now because you don't like who they're targeting. But what happened when you do? When there's people who's being targeted,
there's no illegal alien, I would say, let's keep here over another one. I mean, these people are here in the country illegally, first of all. Second of all,
but if they're following the rules, then they're following the rules.
You know, call me crazy, but I don't know what rules this guy is talking about. Is the one liberals get to pick and choose from? And keep in mind, he's supposed to be some sort of legal expert, but is apparently so brainwashed by establishment media that he can't even see that illegals are inherently breaking the rules by entering the country unlawfully. It's legitimately the first thing they do when they get here, and what makes them less than ideal citizens to the right. Yet, this guy chose to roll out an argument we've seen time and time again from the left, where they pretend to be seemingly okay with the concept of deporting violent illegals with criminal records, but can't possibly fathom getting rid of their exploited servant class who broke the law entering this country.
So it's not necessarily about who's on that plane, who may have a criminal record. We don't know their names, their first names and last name, but it is really about those that are not on the plane that could find themselves one day on a plane.
You all are conflating different groups of people. U.S. citizens are different than non-citizens, and people here under certain status are much different than people who came here illegally, particularly if you came here illegally and you were violent where you came from. And I think the Trump administration, frankly, has a political and maybe even a legal mandate to exit from the country violent, illegal aliens who are in this country.
So, a few things. First of all, Trump is the distractor in chief. So it benefits him that we're having this argument and that we are talking about and we're watching the video of these supposed violent criminals going into El Salvador, because that means we're not talking about the stock market tanking.
You know, every now and then shills like Navarro will find it difficult to swallow a pill that their Democrat handlers gave them, like defending violent criminals on national television, so they'll deflect to something else like the economy and concoct some insane theory that President Trump, who they pretend is a moron, by the way, is playing some sort of 4D chess and trying to distract everyone from something bad he's done. And in this case, Navarro thinks the distraction is acting on one of his biggest campaign promises. Which, on the bright side, I've got to say it's nice to see that the left is maintaining its level of spot-on political analysis given everything that's been going on lately. But let me know what you think. How do you feel about the recent controversy surrounding Trump's deportations? Is it setting a bad precedent and slippery slope, or is it just enforcing the law? Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. That stuff really does help us out. Until then, this has been Nerk News. Thanks for watching. Bye.